Welcome to the King of the Court podcast with Ben Riggs and Ben Staten.
Now on to the next matchup, which features the Knicks against the most annoying team in the league, the Atlanta Hawks.
Are you calling them annoying? Are you just mad that the Atlanta Hawks are going to be a 5th or 6th seed in the East, and you're going to get a late draft pick?
I am annoyed because the one thing you can count with the Hawks is being incompetent. They've had basically almost at this point half a century worth of incompetence. The only time you were ever good was with Bob Pettit, and that dude's like 105 years old. And right now,
LSU guy.
Yeah, you didn't do any major moves. You trade away your second best player, and you guys somehow find yourself into the most balanced roster in the league, which is young, plays great defense, and everyone's bought in. Like, this is not the year to do this. That, like, 5 years from now, do whatever you want. But I need myself my top 6 guaranteed first round pick for the next 3 years.
Just for everybody who's listening in and wondering what the hell he's ranting about, he's a Spurs fan, and that DeJounte Murray trade is got some lingering value, some residual value for him that he's trying to cash in on. And
we own their first round pick for the next 3 years, and it was supposed to be a guaranteed. This is supposed to be our Nets. This is supposed to be our Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum. And like you were supposed to give us at least one high-ranking pick, and now we're going to get a bunch of top 20 picks, all of which are going to suck, and we're going to get 5 Romeo Langfords out of this. And this,
Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Trae Young, all those guys are robbing
DeAndre Hunter looks good.
Glory.
What the hell happened? Okay, he's never looked good. Like this. No, they're really frustrating to watch because they're supposed to be bad, but they're playing. They're actually a really well balanced team.
Yeah.
The real development this year is that Trae Young is no longer the best player on the team, but the best player is pretty clear at this point. Jalen Johnson, fantastic player, but this is a team. This is a balanced team that plays. The ball moves really well. There's not someone just hogging all the shots, which is kind of an issue last year where you would have Murray or Young shoot 30 to 40 times in a game. You got young, athletic, 6'8" guys that they have a bunch of them on the roster.
Yeah, you got good players coming off the bench.
Hisashi, their first round pick, the first overall pick. I mean, is he a future star in the making? No, but he looks like a really good 3-and-D player, like in the making.
Oh, he looks like a Cam Johnson in the making.
Yeah, he looks like a Cam Johnson in the making. That fits really well next to Jalen Johnson. Clint Capella is somehow still on this roster and is another one of those players who's been washed for like 2 years and is now no longer washed. Onyeka Okongwu, who I feel like has been talked about as the next great thing for the last like 7 years, and but is still only like 23 somehow. He's a very, very solid, backup big. This is a fun team to watch. I really I can't enjoy them because I'm just not allowed to legally. But when you just look at their roster, they're big. They're outside of Trae Young. They fill a lineup of Daniels, who's 6'8", Hunter, who's 6'9", Johnson, who's 6'9", Risache, who's 6'9". They have interesting young pieces in Kobe Buffkin. Okongwu is still young. They're bringing back Bogdanovic, who I think may not be on this team much longer, not because he's bad, but because he just doesn't fit the timeline, and they can probably get a really good return for him. But no, this is a fun team. Now, I think they're on a bit of a run. They had this weird thing where they somehow have beaten the Cavaliers twice, even though the Cavs have only lost 3 times.
So to be clear, they've beat the Cavaliers, the Celtics. Who the Bucks?
They're better.
They've run the table against the
good. They have a better record against the good teams than the bad teams. So and part of that is sort of the egalitarian nature.
Well, that for the Atlanta fans, it's kind of interesting because what keeps them in these games is, and you've never said this about an Atlanta team, but like Dyson Daniels and their perimeter defense with him and Risache. Jalen Johnson's a good defender. Like, what keeps them in these games is their defense.
And defense, as anyone who's played basketball knows, defensive effort. Defense is different, but defensive effort is contagious. And a lot of their young players play so hard defensively.
Well,
The older players.
maybe the Mavs, the Mavs went to South Beach and caught the South Beach flu.
Yeah.
Maybe the Lakers could go to Atlanta and catch the ATL flu because they have
Uh,
zero defensive effort.
Unfortunately, the Atlanta has its own nightlife scene that seems to perturb NBA players otherwise. But a lot of Magic City happening over there. But the bigger issue that this team faces, and I think why you see him play like really well against other teams, but really well against the good teams and sort of worse against the bad teams, is that there's a little bit of like small sample size luck happening. They are really like they have 8 players who are averaging currently 10 points or more. So when they're all on, like if they get like a straight flush or they get 5 of the 8 that are playing at a high level, they're really hard to beat because they're young, they're fast, they can shoot, they can do everything. But if it's a game where like 3 of your players are averaging 10 points a game or 4 of them just aren't on it today, like they do struggle sometimes to generate some offense.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
my problem in this game is I like watching the Hawks. I like Dyson Daniels. I like Reese Shea. I like Jalen Johnson. I'll give more credit to Trae Young than you will. I think Trae Young's getting a lot of these guys some really good looks. And I also think that Trae Young. Once he gets in the paint, he becomes a lethal on ball player with that floater that he has. Because and his ability to pass coupled with it, and I think he gets a lot of easy looks for the likes of Capella and Okongwu and people like that near the rim that way. But my problem for the Hawks this game is I could very easily see Dyson Daniels giving fits to Jalen Brunson. I could see Jalen Brunson really struggling in this game. I do not see where the Hawks match up well against Karl Anthony Towns.
That was what I was going to say. This is a game where Carl could have one of these 35 and 16.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
also yeah.
my thing with Karl Anthony Towns in this game is, if I'm the Hawks, I'm actually not going to put a big on Karl Anthony Towns if he's playing out along the perimeter. I'm going to put a quicker, strong, long, like a Jalen Johnson type on Karl Anthony Towns. Have him play right up in Karl Anthony Towns' body and try to frustrate him and get him to start settling for 3-point shots rather than attacking the rim. Because I think if Karl Anthony Towns attacking the rim,
They have no shot.
I don't think the Atlanta Hawks have a chance.
No, I don't think so either. I also think that Brunson could have fits, but Brunson's also a really smart player. I think that there's going to be a lot. There's what you see in modern NBA constantly. He's going to get Dyson Daniels on them. He's going to call for a screen with Towns. He's going to switch on to whoever's guarding Trae Young's guarding. Have that try to get Trae Young and then basically go to work on Trae
No,
Young.
I agree with you completely. I think that what you're going to have to see from Atlanta is they're going to have to leave somebody open along the perimeter, and leave Capella near the rim to try to protect the rim.
Yep.
And force very very similar to what Dallas did to Cat last year, where you just make it very 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 difficult for him to score at the rim.
Yep.
By forcing him to drive through a good on-ball defender and get to an elite rim protector.
Yep.
But if New York's knocking down their shots, it's going to be a long night for Atlanta. So I'm taking the Knicks in this one.
Excellent. The final thing I'll say is,
Are you taking the Hawks?
No, fuck you, Hawks. Never. Like you can't even trust the Spurs to use a lottery pick if it's given to them. So you absolutely need 2 lottery picks per year. Otherwise, they're going to trade one away because they don't know how to draft. And so they're morally screwing us over. But in terms of the matchup, the Knicks have struggled on defense this year. But the one thing that they're designed to beat a Boston type of team, a team with just a bunch of swingmen, like a bunch of like big threes, like 6'8", 6'9" threes. That's Atlanta's. That's their build. They can throw. They can throw Anunoby. They can throw Bridges. They can throw Hart. They have the defenders to match up size-wise with Atlanta, which is part of what Atlanta exploits, in that they can just field these very athletic long teams. And So I think that, and their players are young enough. I do think that they're gonna like they're just a bad matchup for Atlanta. But I say all this. Quinn Snyder, he got all the laurels in Utah for his job as a coach there. He struggled the first 2 years in Atlanta. This is clearly a Quinn Snyder type of team,
Yeah.
and the Hawk fans. I know you guys don't have really like picks to build around this, but this is a solid core. This is a real fun core, and like you could like
And you do have people like Bogey, like you mentioned earlier, that you can trade away and really
100%.
build
No,
on what you have.
you have Bogey. Even your veteran players aren't as old as you
Capella.
think. Capella's not as old as you think. Capella's
Yeah.
got 3 more good years in him in a little more limited
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
So, no, like props to the Hawks. They can go fuck themselves, but it's a really like this is a really fun team, and like watching them pick apart the Bucks last night was really impressive.
Well, one of the things that's interesting about the NBA Cup, though, is like every other professional league in the world, front offices are engineering teams. Theoretically, Lakers may not be included in this, but they're engineering teams with the idea of winning a championship in mind. And to win a championship, you have to
Do you
go
think
through.
Bulls are engineering a team to win a championship?
Not right now. I think they could be well positioned, years from now.
I get, yeah, that's very fair. Yeah.
But I think I think the Lakers might be running more of a Dallas Cowboys style operation,
Yes.
with a less vocal Jerry Jones behind the scenes. But the the idea is that you're engineering a roster that's meant to excel in a playoff series type situation where it's 5, 6, 7 games that you have to be able to win, or 4 games that you have to be able to win, 5, 6, 7 games you have to be able to compete in. But the NBA Cup puts you in an entirely different situation that's more college style, where it's 1 game.
Yep.
And we said this about every matchup, and it's what adds to the excitement of the NBA Cup to me. Yes, the NBA Cup imputes some meaning upon early season games that were once sort of devoid of meaning, and as a result, you just kind of watched, not intense basketball. We'll say that.
Yes.
And now there's more interest in the games as a result of the NBA Cup. But part of what makes the NBA Cup exciting too is that I think that the Rockets have engineered a roster that's designed to win a championship better than what the Golden State Warriors have right now. Also think the Golden State Warriors have a good team defense that on any given night, that defense augmented by the shooting of Steph and Buddy Hield could beat the Rockets. I think the Mavs are a better team than the Thunder, but the Thunder can get hot from 3 and win that game next week. I think that the Bucks and the Magic are kind of like the only matchup in that situation where I don't see a particular like single game advantage or series advantage for either team. I think they're just kind of like an evenly matched team both ways, and it could go either way in either. The Hawks Knicks, it's another one of those games, man. The Hawks have Trae Young, Ricochet. Some of these guys get hot from 3. It could go against the Knicks, but that can also be said for I guess it goes both ways. That can be said for the Knicks. That can be said for the Mavs. That can be said for the Rockets as well.